I won $50 million, and I thought my life couldn't get any better until I ran to my husband's office with our son, and what I heard when I got there changed everything forever. Welcome to Voice of Alicia, where stories breathe, emotions speak, and every word paints a world of its own. Close your eyes, relax your mind, and step into a story crafted just for you. I never imagined that winning the lottery would change my life so drastically, or that it would lead me to one of the most shocking moments of my entire life. It all started on a seemingly ordinary Thursday morning. I was scrolling through the news with a cup of coffee in my hand, the kind of lazy, comforting routine I had cherished for years. And then, almost accidentally, I checked the lottery results. At first, I thought I was seeing things. $50 million. That number stared back at me like some impossible dream. I double-checked the numbers on my ticket. My hands were shaking. I tried to calm myself, thinking maybe it was just a mistake or some glitch in the system. But as I refreshed the official lottery page, reality hit me like a thunderbolt. I had actually won $50 million. I kept repeating it over and over, my heart racing, my mind spinning. The first person I wanted to share this with was my husband. We had been together for over 10 years, and though money had never been a problem, I knew that this news would overwhelm him. But I also knew I needed to tell him in person. I wanted to see his reaction, wanted to feel the shock, the joy, the disbelief. So I grabbed our son's hand, still half asleep and rubbing his eyes, and told him we were going on a little adventure. As we drove toward my husband's office, I could hardly contain myself. I imagined how his face would light up, imagined the laughter, the tears. I imagined us hugging tightly in the middle of the office hallway as our son jumped up and down beside us. But life, as it often does, had other plans. When we arrived, I parked the car hastily, barely noticing where. Our son was babbling excitedly, and I held his hand tightly, trying to steady my nerves. I took a deep breath and walked up to the glass doors of my husband's office. That's when I heard it, a faint, almost unnoticeable noise. At first, I thought it was just someone moving papers or the hum of the office machinery. But then it grew louder, unmistakably louder. It wasn't the kind of noise you expect in an office. It was soft at first, then more insistent, like muffled voices combined with hurried footsteps. My heart began to pound in my chest, and suddenly my excitement began to give way to fear. Something was off. Something was very, very off. I hesitated, hand on the door handle, trying to convince myself to step inside. But instinct told me to pause. The noises continued, and I could hear snippets of conversation, but they were muffled, distorted by the office walls. I glanced down at my son, who was looking up at me with wide, curious eyes, completely unaware of the tension building in me. I swallowed hard and told him to stay close. Then I saw movement from inside the office. Shadows flickered across the blinds, and my pulse quickened. I called out his name softly, hoping for a response. But instead of hearing him, I heard a gasp, a sharp intake of breath that made my blood run cold. I don't know what made me push open the door. Maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe it was the sheer need to know the truth. But as the door swung open, I froze. There, in the middle of my husband's office, was a scene I could never have imagined. The first thing I noticed was his expression, a mixture of surprise and guilt, a tension in his shoulders that spoke volumes. But it wasn't just him. There was another person there, someone I didn't expect, someone I shouldn't have expected. The noises I had heard moments ago were not harmless. They were a warning. I felt my son tug at my hand, sensing my sudden shift in mood. I forced myself to breathe, to keep control, but the room seemed to spin around me. My husband stammered, trying to explain, but the words didn't make sense. Every attempt he made to speak only made the silence feel heavier, more suffocating. And then it hit me. I realized what was happening. My stomach dropped, and the world seemed to narrow down to that one moment. The noises, the shadows, the hurried whispers, it all clicked into place. I had walked straight into something I wasn't supposed to see, something that shattered the image I had of the life I thought I knew. For a few seconds, nothing happened. We just stood there, me gripping my son, him frozen, and the other person just standing there too, caught in the tension. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. I could feel my son clutching my leg, sensing the fear radiating from me. Then, almost as if reality had shifted, my husband spoke again, trying to reassure me, to explain, to fill the room with some sense of normalcy. But it was too late. The moment had passed, replaced by a heavy, undeniable truth. The excitement I had felt just moments ago about winning $50 million felt distant, irrelevant compared to the reality unfolding before me. I remember standing there, trying to gather my thoughts, trying to remind myself that no matter what had just happened, I had to protect my son. His safety and well-being became my anchor in the storm. Everything else, the shock, the anger, the betrayal, had to wait. I told my husband to step aside, to let me and our son out of the office. He hesitated, and I could see the panic in his eyes. But I wasn't going to wait. Not when I had to get my son out safely. I led him toward the door, holding him close, feeling the weight of every second, every step. Outside, the air felt different, almost electric, as if the world had shifted in that brief moment. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins, my mind racing. Questions swirled around me like a storm. How could this happen? Why did it happen? And most importantly, what did I do next? Winning $50 million should have been the happiest moment of my life, but instead, it had become the backdrop for one of the most terrifying experiences I had ever faced. And yet, amidst the fear and the confusion, there was clarity. I knew I had to act. I knew I had to take control of the situation. I spent the next few hours trying to process what had happened. I called a trusted friend, someone who could offer perspective without judgment. I reached out to a lawyer to understand my options, to figure out how to protect myself and my son. Every step felt surreal, like I was moving through someone else's life. And then I began to think about the lottery. The $50 million sitting in my bank account suddenly felt like a lifeline, not just for me, but for my son. It was a way to start over, to build a future that was truly safe, truly ours. I realized that this money could give me the freedom to make choices I never thought possible. In the days that followed, I carefully navigated the aftermath. I confronted my husband, demanded answers, and made it clear that our son's well-being came first. Every decision I made was deliberate, calculated, and protective. I realized that winning the lottery had given me more than wealth. It had given me leverage, control, and the ability to redefine my life on my own terms. Looking back now, I see that moment in the office as a turning point. It was a terrifying, shocking experience, yes, but it also revealed my strength, my resilience, and my determination to protect my family at all costs. The $50 million was more than just money. It was a tool, a shield, and a gateway to a new life. I will never forget the sound of those noises, the way my heart raced, or the way my son clung to me that day. It was a moment that changed everything, a moment that forced me to see my life, my relationships, and my priorities in a completely new light. And while the road ahead was uncertain, I knew one thing for certain: I would never allow anyone or anything to take away my son's safety, my peace of mind, or the freedom that lottery win had unexpectedly given me. In the end, the experience taught me that life is unpredictable, that wealth can be both a blessing and a catalyst for revealing hidden truths. It taught me that strength comes not from the numbers in a bank account, but from the courage to face reality, to make tough decisions, and to protect those we love above all else. And so, as I look at that lottery ticket now, framed and hanging in my living room, I don't just see $50 million. I see survival. I see empowerment. I see the moment when my life and my son's life truly changed forever. I often think about that day, how a simple act of running to my husband's office, filled with joy and excitement, turned into a confrontation with a reality I could never have imagined. And while the memory of the noises, the fear, and the shock will always stay with me, so will the knowledge that I emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace the life that I had been given, fully aware that sometimes fortune comes with lessons we never expected. Thank you for spending your time with Alicia. If this story moved you, let your support be felt. Like, share, and subscribe. Your presence inspires the next tale. Until our voices meet again, stay calm, stay curious, and keep dreaming.